to have a quick look at the Thai construction industry, and the reason for that is that I think it has the COVID situation has created an interesting buying opportunity for this industry. Um, the only thing that you have to do is find a company that is building the right kind of properties, finding the right kind of customers, and has fairly good revenue or fairly good management of their debt. And I think Pruksa, which is one of the biggest construction companies in Thailand, one of the most famous ones as well, is doing all of those things. Now, Pruksa itself has been trading since 2016. The company itself, as I said, it is quite famous in Thailand. Because of the COVID situation, it has been affected. So the price of the stock went down to a low of 9 Thai bahts at the beginning of the outbreak, but it bounced up again back to around about the highs of 14 and now 13, which is where it's sitting at. Um, with the recovery, as long as this type of company continues to pick up sales, which it is doing, continues to manage its debt, which Pruksa is doing, and continues to target the right kind of buildings, construction projects for its new target audience, or the target audience that's in Thailand, which again is something that Pruksa is doing, then I think it should do okay. Just having a quick look at the financials itself. So the cost of the stock is quite cheap at the moment. So at the 13 Thai bahts, it represents a less than a 1-to-1 ratio of the amount of revenue that has come in. So the market cap of 28 billion Thai bahts is still at a discounted price if you're looking at just the sales, or if you're looking at the book values, because the company has a lot of assets within its book value as well. In terms of growth, it is growing just a little bit. The slow in quarter three, because we're in September 2021, the slow in quarter three is due to the lockdown in Thailand. So the Thai government has for the past couple of months, has put Bangkok in particular into a lockdown. And Bangkok is where most of the Thai economy happens, and because of the lockdown, it does affect all of the major construction companies. But Pruksa is still managing to grow revenue quarter by quarter, which is a good sign. It has free cash flow. It has cash in the bank. It also has free cash flow here of 10 billion Thai bahts. In terms of its debt, there's 23 billion Thai bahts in debt, which is lower than its total revenue. So if we go over here, the revenue that it has is 29 billion, or just about 30 billion. Back in 2018-17, it was up in the 40s, 40 billions. And I suspect, even if we get back to the 2019 level, that's an extra 10 billion on the COVID situation at the moment. So the price of the stock will go up once the revenue starts going back to the pre-COVID levels. So where it's 13, the price of the stock is 13 Thai bahts at the moment, we can probably see that going back up to the 16, 17, maybe 18 in the highs. Now, at the price that we have it at the moment, the dividends for this stock is at around about, I think, 7%, 7.2%. And it is a good dividend payer, so this is another plus for this particular stock. In terms of the future outlook, now, Pruksa itself is quite good at publishing sales data and sales information. Now, what's happened in Thailand is that since the COVID situation has come about, people in Thailand have been moving from buying condominiums towards buying what's called a townhouse, which is a semi-detached house, or a detached house entirely. Another point about condominiums is that for foreign money, foreign investors, they would not be able to buy land in Thailand, which blocks them from being able to buy townhouses or houses. You have to set up your own company within Thailand in order to be able to use that company to buy a house. Not a lot of people would do that, so a lot of foreign money would just go straight to condominiums. So condominiums have usually been the place where most of the revenue is gotten, but since foreign money has been blocked off due to the COVID situation, other investments available elsewhere, and for the population in Thailand working from home for the past year or so. It means that really the only buyers that construction companies have in Thailand are the Thai people themselves. What that has meant is that the Thai people has actually been moving towards buying houses, townhouses, more, and you can see quite clearly from this graph of the what is called pre-sales revenue by type. So this is pre-sale revenue, and this is revenue. So this is in 2020, so this was last year, and they split it out by type. Now, pre-sales means that the project has not been finished yet, it's not open. So this revenue is actually kind of like deposit money that the Thai construction companies will get from people who have booked a, or kind of like pre-bought a property. So pre-sale revenues, as you can see from the split here, this is condos. So for the year when the pandemic happened, for condominium, the revenues from the pre-sales is actually a lot smaller than a single detached house or a townhouse. Townhouse making up over 54% of the pre-sales revenue. So this is like all of the buyers that they have in the COVID situation, and as you can see, it's mainly townhouses. That's what happened. You know, condos are only about 20%. But if you look at the revenue that's come in, what this is showing you here is that the revenue, so projects that have been completed, so these people here, the money that's in this area for revenues, would have been pre-sales people in the year 2019. So this kind of shows you the money that goes in towards the different building types back in 2019, and then in 2020 they have to go ahead and buy it. And what you can see clearly here, the big difference is that condos was 27% back in 2019, but then in pre-sales it's dropped. Townhouses was smaller, and of course it's increased during the COVID situation. So this, I think, is an indication of the shift from condominium purchases towards townhouse purchases, and that is how construction companies will win over the market in Thailand in the foreseeable future. So they need to pivot from condominiums to townhouses or detached houses. So for this year, the year 2021, for Q2 pre-sales, Q2 revenue, you can see the same trend is still happening. So condominiums making about 18%, 20%, with townhouses making up the bulk of the properties that's in pre-sale, plus purchases as well. And that's the shift that we've seen in the Thai construction market. And Pruksa has been able to take advantage of the pivot towards houses and townhouses because it's bought so much land. It has a lot of assets, has a lot of land. You can see in its, I think it's this one here, so total assets is 78 billion Thai bahts. So the total debt that it has is the 23. Like, a lot of that can be paid off by the free cash flow that it has, which was 10 billion. But also, if it needed to, it could sell off some of its assets. So this would be some projects, but it would also be a lot of land as well. So if the worst came to worst and Pruksa wanted to get to zero debt, it would not hurt the business very much at all because it has so much assets in place. And because of the land that it has, it's able to build these non-condominium properties much faster. It's also moving into creating hospitals as well. So by Pruksa being clever with its strategic asset purchases and then also being able to pivot quickly to meet the changing consumer needs, it's one of the property companies that has maintained a very healthy revenue for the past 12 months, even nearly 2 years now, while the COVID situation has been happening. If you have a look at the Pruksa website, you can see that they actually promote housing projects now. And these houses, there you go, 2 million, 3 million. I think, yeah, there's one condo project here, but everything else, oh, there's another condo project, another one, but everything else is houses and townhouses. And that's really because you only have the Thai market, you don't have international markets, so you need to build townhouses to service all of the Thai people that's buying. So that's how Pruksa is maintaining its healthy sales volume during the COVID pandemic, keeping its low debts in place, as well whilst it's doing that, and paying a healthy dividends. And the dividends, you can expect that dividends to be about the 7% for the foreseeable future. Once the stock price starts going up, then it will come down to about 6%, 5%, depending on profitability as well. But right now, the stock um, is more than likely going to go up because the recovery in Thailand with the government vaccinating more and more of the population, with the lockdowns being less and less strict as we go into October, November, December. The lockdowns are getting less and less strict. The government would like to open the country to vaccinated tourists by November. So that's only 1 month away, 1 month and 1 week away. At which point there'll be more business, more activity. So you'll get more foreigners. You're going to get more people coming out of lockdown, which means you'll get also more property purchases as well in Thailand. And Pruksa is well placed to take advantage of that, which is what it's doing already. So lots of good upside for this particular company. Unlikely to ever go bankrupt like Evergrande because, as I said, the debt that it has is a lot smaller than the free that is a lot smaller than the assets it has, and the free cash flow that the company has as well can service a lot of that debt. So this is a good company. It's a good stock. I think it's one that will do well following the pandemic.